The night Dr. Sarah Chen changed human history forever started with a falling star. She stood on the roof of the Xenobiology Research Center, watching the object streak across the Montana sky, its blue-white trail casting shadows across the snow-covered mountains. Her equipment indicated it wasn't a meteor, but something else entirely, something that made her instruments dance with impossible readings. "Control, are you seeing this?" She spoke into her comm unit, her breath forming clouds in the frigid air. "The radiation signature doesn't match anything in our database." The object's trajectory shifted, defying physics. It wasn't falling, it was landing. Sarah's heart thundered in her chest as she realized she was about to witness humanity's first contact with an alien species. The landing site was a clearing 2 miles from the facility. Sarah led the response team, their vehicles kicking up snow as they raced toward destiny. The object, a sleek, opalescent pod about the size of a car, had carved a gentle furrow in the earth rather than a crater. It pulsed with a soft, rhythmic light that made Sarah's skin tingle. "Radiation levels nominal," one of her team reported. "No detectable pathogens. Whatever it is, it's safe to approach." Sarah stepped forward, her hand outstretched. The pod's surface rippled like liquid mercury at her touch, and a seam appeared, spreading like frost across glass. As it opened, Sarah forgot how to breathe. Inside lay a woman, if that word could even apply to the being before them. Her skin was like moonlight given form, shifting with subtle iridescence. Her features were humanoid, but refined to mathematical perfection, as if someone had discovered the universal equation for beauty and solved for X. But it was her eyes that captured Sarah. They were filled with galaxies, literally swirling with points of light like distant stars. The alien was also clearly dying. "Medical team now," Sarah barked, her scientific detachment warring with raw human empathy. As they worked to stabilize the visitor, Sarah noticed patterns emerging on the alien's skin, symbols that shifted and changed, as if her entire body was trying to communicate. In the chaos of the next few hours, as the alien was transferred to a secure medical facility and the world's governments were notified, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't an accident. The pod's trajectory, the precise landing, this had been planned. 3 days later, the alien opened her eyes. Sarah was there, having barely left the observation room. The being's first words, spoken in perfect English, confirmed Sarah's suspicions. "Dr. Chen," the alien said, her voice like wind through crystal. "I am Lyra, and I bring both a warning and a gift for humanity." Sarah leaned forward. "How do you know my name? How do you know our language?" Lyra's smile was beautiful and terrible. "We have been watching, learning, preparing. My people, the Lumerians, have come to a crossroads. We need humanity's help as much as you need ours." "What kind of help?" Sarah asked, even as alarms began blaring in her mind. "Our women are dying out," Lyra said. "A genetic plague affects only our female population. We have perfected physical beauty, extended our lifespans, mastered the art of genetic engineering, but we cannot stop our own extinction." She paused, her galaxy eyes fixing on Sarah. "But humans have something we lost long ago. Something that might save us all." "And what's that?" "Adaptability. Raw, unfiltered evolutionary potential. We offer you our perfection, our technology, our understanding of genetics. In exchange, we ask only that you help us survive." Sarah studied the alien's perfect features, remembering her grandmother's words about things that seemed too good to be true. And the warning. Lyra's expression darkened. "If humanity refuses, we will take what we need by force. We cannot allow our species to die." As Sarah processed this, she noticed something odd. Beneath Lyra's otherworldly beauty, beneath the perfect symmetry and stellar eyes, there was something else, something almost human in its desperation. "How many of your women survive?" Sarah asked softly. "Few enough that I was chosen to risk everything on this mission," Lyra replied. The others will arrive soon, seeking sanctuary. The question is, Dr. Chen, will humanity offer shelter to angels, or will you force us to become demons? Sarah straightened her spine, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. Her answer would shape the future of two species. But before she could speak, Lyra's body convulsed, her perfect skin blazing with urgent symbols. "They're coming," Lyra gasped. "Sooner than planned. The convergence begins. Choose quickly, Dr. Chen. Choose for all humanity." As emergency teams rushed in, Sarah watched the alien's skin pulse with light like a dying star. She didn't know it yet, but this was only the beginning. The true test of humanity wouldn't be in their response to beauty or technology, but in their ability to see beyond both, to recognize the soul beneath the starlight's skin. The choice she would make that night would ripple across two civilizations, teaching both species that true beauty isn't found in genetic perfection, but in the flawed, magnificent spirit that makes us who we are. The world changed faster than anyone could have predicted. Within a week of Lyra's warning, they arrived. 12 Lumerian ships descending through Earth's atmosphere like falling stars, each carrying what they called their precious cargo. Sarah watched from the newly established First Contact Center as the vessels touched down across different continents, their hulls shimmering with the same opalescent beauty as their occupants. "It's happening too fast," Sarah muttered, studying the data streaming across her screens. Beside her, Lyra had recovered enough to stand, her otherworldly presence drawing stares from everyone in the command center. "We have no choice," Lyra responded, her voice carrying that crystalline quality that made humans instinctively want to listen. "Our genetic degradation accelerates with each passing generation. Those ships carry the last fertile females of our species." The numbers were staggering. 300 Lumerian women, each one engineered to the peak of genetic perfection. Their beauty wasn't just physical. It operated on some fundamental level that human scientists were still struggling to understand. Even Sarah, who had grown somewhat accustomed to Lyra's presence, found herself mesmerized by the footage of Lumerians emerging from their ships. "You still haven't explained everything," Sarah said, turning to face her alien companion. "Why Earth? Why humans specifically?" Lyra's galaxy eyes swirled with deeper colors. "Because you are beautifully imperfect." Before Sarah could press for clarification, General Marcus Hayes strode into the command center. The military had maintained a surprisingly light presence until now, but something in the general's expression made Sarah's stomach tighten. "Dr. Chen, we have a situation in New Delhi," Hayes announced, his weathered face grim. "The Lumerian arrival that has caused complications." The footage from India showed chaos, not violence, but something almost more disturbing. Thousands of people had surrounded the landing site, drawn to the Lumerian women like moths to flame. The effect of their presence was causing what the media had dubbed beauty riots, mass gatherings that teetered between religious reverence and mass hysteria. "This is happening everywhere," Hayes continued. "Paris, Lagos, Sydney, wherever they land, human society starts to break down. And our scientists are detecting unusual electromagnetic patterns emanating from the Lumerian women. Care to explain that, Lyra?" Lyra's perfect features showed no reaction. "It is simply our natural resonance. Our beauty operates on multiple levels, physical, psychological, even quantum. We cannot help the effect we have on your species." Sarah noticed something she hadn't before, a subtle pattern in how the crowds moved around the Lumerian women, almost like they're being influenced, she breathed. "This isn't just about beauty, is it? You're exerting some kind of control." "Not control," Lyra corrected. "Guidance. Our presence naturally brings order to chaos. It is why we were engineered this way." "Engineered by whom?" Hayes demanded. "By ourselves," Lyra replied. "Over millennia, we shaped ourselves into living art, into beings of perfect harmony. But we went too far. In pursuing physical perfection, we engineered away our ability to adapt. Now we need your genetic diversity, your beautiful chaos, to survive." Sarah watched the screens, seeing more footage of humans becoming entranced by Lumerian presence. And what happens to humanity in this exchange? What's the price of helping you? Evolution, Lyra said simply. We offer humanity the chance to transcend its physical limitations. Our genetics will enhance your species, make you more like us. More controllable, you mean, Hayes growled. More perfect, Lyra corrected, but Sarah caught a flicker of something in those stellar eyes, something that might have been guilt. The next few hours brought more reports. Governments struggling to maintain order, religious leaders declaring the Lumerians either angels or demons, scientists detecting increasing levels of unknown radiation wherever the aliens gathered. But most disturbing were the medical reports. Humans exposed to prolonged Lumerian presence were changing, their brain chemistry shifting in subtle but measurable ways. In her private lab, Sarah examined a blood sample from a security guard who had spent several hours near a Lumerian gathering. The changes were fascinating and terrifying. Human DNA actively rewriting itself in response to some signal they couldn't yet detect. Beautiful, isn't it? Sarah jumped. Lyra had entered silently, her presence immediately filling the small lab with that familiar, compelling energy. What are you really doing to us? Sarah asked, forcing herself to meet those galaxy eyes. Saving both our species, Lyra replied, but perhaps not in the way my leaders intended. She moved closer, her skin shimming with urgent patterns. Dr. Chen, Sarah, I need to tell you something. Something that could get me executed if my people knew. Sarah felt her pulse quicken. What is it? The genetic plague that's killing our women. It wasn't natural. It was engineered by our own leadership, a calculated crisis to force this very situation. They don't just want to survive, they want to remake humanity in our image. The implications hit Sarah like a physical blow. Your leaders deliberately infected your women. Why? Because humanity's chaos frightens them. They believe that by merging our species on their terms, they can create a perfectly ordered galaxy. Lyra's perfect features showed real emotion for the first time. Fear. But they don't understand what they'll destroy in the process. They don't understand that humanity's imperfection is exactly what makes you beautiful. As alarms began blaring throughout the facility, signaling yet another crisis, Sarah realized they were standing at a crossroads. Humanity could surrender to the seductive promise of perfection, or they could fight to preserve the beautiful chaos that made them human. The choice would reshape both species forever, if they survived making it. The changes began slowly at first, subtle enough that most people didn't notice until it was too late. Sarah watched through her microscope as another human cell sample underwent transformation, its DNA spiral shimmering with an otherworldly iridescence that reminded her too much of Lumerian skin. 3 weeks had passed since the mass arrival, and Earth had become a planet of divided populations. Those who had extended exposure to the Lumerians were changing, becoming more beautiful, more ordered, more perfect. Their skin took on a faint luminescence, their movements became more graceful, and their minds seemed to operate with crystalline clarity. But they were also losing something vital, something fundamentally human. The biochemical changes are accelerating, Sarah reported to the Emergency Council, which now included both human and Lumerian representatives. The affected populations show a 300% increase in cognitive processing, but their emotional responses are dampening. They're becoming more like us, Lyra finished, standing beside her. The Lumerian had become Sarah's constant companion, her presence both a comfort and a warning. But that's not the worst of it, is it, Sarah? Sarah swallowed hard. No, we're seeing reproductive complications in transformed humans. The same pattern that's affecting the Lumerian population is beginning to manifest in changed humans. The council chamber erupted in chaos, or at least as much chaos as was possible, with half the members being the preternaturally calm Lumerians. General Hayes, one of the few military leaders who had minimized his exposure to Lumerian influence, slammed his fist on the table. This isn't an alliance, It's an invasion, he thundered. They're terraforming us from the inside out. We are saving you, declared High Minister Astra, the Lumerian leader who had arrived with the second wave. Her beauty was even more devastating than Lyra's, her presence making the air itself feel heavier. Look at what your species has already gained. Disease rates plummeting, violence decreasing, intellectual capacity soaring. At the cost of our humanity, Sarah countered, forcing herself to resist the High Minister's compelling presence. The transformed populations are losing their ability to create art, to feel deep emotions too, to be beautifully imperfect. In the weeks since the arrival, Sarah had seen it everywhere. Musicians who had undergone the change could play with technical perfection but lost their passion. Artists produced works of mathematical beauty but devoid of soul. Children stopped playing imaginatively, preferring ordered, structured activities. But there was something else, something Sarah had only shared with Lyra. Some humans were proving resistant to the change. More than that, their chaos seemed to be affecting the Lumerians in unexpected ways. In her lab's private database, Sarah had documented cases of Lumerian women beginning to express emotions more freely, showing signs of creativity and spontaneity that shocked their leaders. It was as if proximity to human chaos was awakening something long dormant in their perfectly engineered genes. There's another option, Sarah said, her voice cutting through the council's debate. The human genetic structure isn't just resisting the change in some cases, it's reversing the engineering in the Lumerian genome. We could find a way to save both species without sacrificing what makes either of us unique. High Minister Astra's perfect features showed a flicker of something that might have been fear. That line of research is forbidden. The path to perfection cannot be reversed. Can't be reversed, or won't be allowed to be reversed. Sarah challenged. Your own people are awakening to emotions, to chaos, to freedom. The word hung in the air like a thunderclap. Around the table, Sarah saw several Lumerian representatives touch their skin, where new, unauthorized patterns had begun appearing, evidence of independent thought, of divergence from their engineered perfection. This meeting is concluded, Astra declared, rising with fluid grace. The integration will proceed as planned. Those humans who resist the change will be helped to understand its necessity. As the council dispersed, Lyra grabbed Sarah's arm, her touch sending shivers of energy through Sarah's body. They're going to accelerate the process, she whispered. Astra has called for the arrival of the Genesis ships. They carry enough genetic catalysts to transform Earth's entire population within days. Sarah felt her blood run cold. How long? The ships will arrive in 1 week. Lyra's galaxy eyes swirled with urgent colors. But there's more. Those of us who have been awakened by human chaos, we're organizing. We want to help stop this. Sarah looked around the emptying council chamber, noting how the transformed humans moved with eerie synchronization, their beauty both alluring and terrifying. 1 week to save humanity's right to be imperfect. To save both our species' right to choose their own path, Lyra corrected. But we'll need help from those humans who've proven resistant to the change. Your chaos, your beautiful imperfection, it's the key to everything. As they left the council chamber, Sarah saw new security forces being deployed, transformed humans working in perfect coordination with Lumerian overseers. The world was becoming more beautiful, more ordered, and infinitely more dangerous. They had 1 week to save humanity's soul, and their greatest weapons would be the very flaws and imperfections the Lumerians had sought to eliminate. The question was, how do you fight perfection with chaos? Sarah was about to find out. The underground bunker beneath Seattle was a study in beautiful chaos. Sarah watched as resistant humans and awakened Lumerians worked together, their differences creating an unexpected harmony. Artists drew plans next to quantum physicists, their wild theories somehow making more sense together than apart. It was everything the High Council feared, proof that imperfection and perfection could coexist, even strengthen each other. The Genesis ships have passed Mars, Lyra announced, her skin patterns shifting with anxiety, an emotion that would have been impossible for her kind just weeks ago. 6 days until they enter Earth's atmosphere. Sarah studied the holographic display showing the approaching fleet. 12 massive vessels, each carrying enough genetic catalysts to transform millions. But it was the smaller detail that caught her attention, subtle energy readings that matched patterns she'd been tracking in transformed humans. "Look at this," she said, enhancing the display. "The ships aren't just carrying catalysts. They're amplifying the same frequency that Lumerians naturally emit, the one that makes humans so susceptible to transformation." "A planetary-scale conversion field," added Dr. James Wong, one of the few top geneticists who'd proven resistant to the change. His rumpled appearance and chaotic workstations stood in sharp contrast to the sterile precision of his transformed colleagues. They're not just planning to change those who are exposed, they're going to blanket the entire planet. The implications were staggering. In 6 days, every human on Earth would begin the transformation, willing or not. The age of human chaos would end, replaced by Lumerian perfection. But Sarah had noticed something else in her research, something that gave her hope. "Show them what we found, James." Dr. Wong pulled up another hologram, this one showing paired DNA strands, human and Lumerian. "We've identified why some humans are resistant. It's not just random chance, it's creativity." "Creativity?" asked Marcus Hayes, who had joined the resistance after seeing too many of his soldiers lose their humanity to the transformation. More specifically, the neural patterns associated with creative thinking, emotional processing, and adaptive problem-solving, Sarah explained. The more active these areas are, the stronger the resistance to transformation. It's why artists, musicians, and free thinkers were among the first to show immunity. And it's why exposure to resistant humans is awakening similar patterns in some of us, Lyra added, her galaxy eyes swirling with new colors that had appeared only after she begun experiencing human emotions. Our perfect engineering never accounted for the power of chaos. A young artist named Maya stepped forward, her hands stained with paint, actual physical paint, a rarity in a world increasingly dominated by digital precision. But how does this help us stop the Genesis ships? We can't exactly ask billions of people to start painting or playing music in the next 6 days. Sarah smiled, feeling the familiar thrill of a breakthrough. "No, but we can broadcast chaos." The room fell silent as she pulled up her latest research. The Lumerian transformation works by broadcasting a signal of perfect harmony, a quantum frequency that reorganizes matter on a fundamental level. But chaos has its own frequency. We've been detecting it in the brainwaves of resistant humans, in the new patterns appearing on awakened Lumerian skin, even in the physical vibrations of human art and music. "You want to broadcast human chaos to the whole planet?" Hayes asked, incredulous. "Not just broadcast it," Sarah said, her eyes shining with the beautiful madness of inspiration. "Amplify it. The Genesis ships are going to create a planetary transformation field. Fine, we'll create a chaos field." "The mathematics are incredible," Dr. Wong added, throwing up more holograms showing wave patterns and quantum calculations. "When you map human creativity, emotion, and adaptation as energy frequencies, they form a pattern that's beautiful," Lyra finished, staring at the swirling display. "More beautiful than our engineered perfection because it's alive, evolving, free." But there was a catch. There was always a catch. The broadcast would need to be powerful enough to counter the Genesis ships, Sarah explained. "We'd need access to the High Council's quantum network, and we'd need a Lumerian at its heart," Lyra said quietly. "Someone to serve as a bridge between chaos and harmony, to prove that both can coexist." Her skin patterns shifted into completely new configurations, proof of how far she'd evolved from her engineered origins. "I'll do it." "It could kill you," Sarah protested, surprised by the depth of emotion she felt for this being who had become so much more than an alien visitor. "Maybe," Lyra agreed, But isn't that the most human thing about this plan? Taking an irrational risk for the chance at something better. Around them, the resistance members, human and Lumerian alike, began to move with purpose. Artists started creating, musicians began playing, scientists scribbled equations that broke and remade the laws of physics. It was chaos and harmony, imperfection and beauty, all swirling together into something entirely new. They had 5 days to build a device that could broadcast human chaos across the planet, hack into the most secure network ever created, and convince humanity that their flaws were actually their greatest strength. Even for a species that thrived on impossible challenges, it was a lot to ask. But as Sarah watched humans and Lumerians working together, each bringing their unique strengths to the task, she realized something profound. Perfection wasn't an end state to be achieved. It was the endless dance between order and chaos, the beautiful moment when opposites created something greater than themselves. The real question was, would the rest of the world understand this in time? The transformed city of New York gleamed with unnatural perfection. As Sarah moved through the streets with her small team, she felt like she was walking through a living artwork, beautiful, precise, and utterly devoid of soul. The once chaotic symphony of city life had been replaced by eerie harmony, pedestrians moving in unconscious synchronization, vehicles flowing in perfect patterns. Even the weather seemed regulated by some unseen hand. "The transmission tower is half a mile ahead," Lyra whispered, her skin patterns dimmed to avoid detection. "But something's wrong. The security protocols have changed." Sarah checked her handheld scanner, disguised as one of the ubiquitous personal harmony devices that transformed humans now carried. The quantum readings were off the charts. "They know we're coming." "Of course we do," a familiar voice rang out. High Minister Astra stepped from the shadows, her perfect form seeming to draw light itself toward her. "Did you think we wouldn't notice the discord you've been spreading?" Suddenly, they were surrounded by security forces, transformed humans moving with mechanical precision, their enhanced beauty making them look more like living statues than people. But Sarah noticed something her scanners had missed: subtle tremors in their movements, microscopic imperfections in their synchronized patterns. "Your perfect system is breaking down," Sarah said, meeting Astra's stellar gaze. "The transformed humans, they're remembering who they are. Chaos can't be engineered away. It's fundamental to consciousness itself." A minor fluctuation, Astra dismissed, but there was something new in her voice: fear. "The Genesis ships will correct all imperfections. Order will prevail." "Will it?" Maya stepped forward, her artist's hands stained with real paint, a sight that made several transformed humans twitch with suppressed recognition. She held up her latest work, a swirling canvas of colors that seemed to move, to breathe, to live. The nearby security forces couldn't look away. "Art is disorder," Astra declared. "Emotion is weakness. We offer perfection." "You offer death," Lyra countered, her skin blazing with new patterns that spoke of revolution, of freedom, of change. Not of the body, but of everything that makes life worth living. Sarah watched as the security forces began to show more signs of internal struggle. The transformation wasn't as complete as the Lumerian leadership had claimed. Humanity's chaos was infectious, fighting back against imposed perfection from within. That's when she saw it, the flaw in Astra's perfect plan. "You're not afraid of our chaos," Sarah realized aloud. "You're afraid of your own. The genetic plague, the transformation protocol, it wasn't just about controlling humanity. It was about controlling your own people's awakening emotions." Astra's perfect composure cracked, just for a moment, but it was enough. Around them, the security forces' synchronization faltered further. More transformed humans were beginning to show signs of remembering, of feeling, of breaking free from the harmony that bound them. "The Genesis ships carry more than just catalysts, don't they?" Sarah pressed. "They carry the final solution, a way to lock both our species into permanent perfection. No more evolution, no more change, no more choice." "Choice is suffering," Astra snapped, her controls slipping further. We offer freedom from the pain of uncertainty, from the agony of imperfection. No. A new voice rang out. Dr. James Wong stepped forward, his rumpled appearance a stark contrast to the geometrical precision around them. You offer freedom from being alive. He held up a device, the Chaos Broadcaster prototype, smaller than planned but ready. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our potential for perfection, he said. It's our ability to find beauty in broken things, to create art from pain, to love despite uncertainty. The device activated, sending out waves of pure human chaos, the mathematical representation of creativity, emotion, and free will. The effect was immediate. Transformed humans began to shake, their perfect facades cracking as suppressed humanity fought its way back to the surface. Even some of Astra's Lumerian guards showed signs of change, their skin patterns shifting into unauthorized configurations. Stop this, Astra commanded, but her voice had lost its compelling power. Security forces contain them. But the security forces were too busy containing their own awakening emotions. Some had fallen to their knees, overwhelmed by returning feelings. Others stood frozen, caught between programming and freedom. The network, Sarah said urgently to Lyra. While she's distracted, if we can upload the chaos frequency to the quantum network now. Lyra nodded, her galaxy eyes blazing with new colors as she interfaced with the network through her natural Lumerian abilities. The chaos broadcast began to spread, carried by the very system designed to enforce perfection. Across the city, transformed humans began to wake up. The perfect harmony of traffic dissolved into natural rhythm. Buildings that had been maintained in sterile perfection began to show signs of organic wear. The air itself seemed to come alive with possibility. But their victory was far from complete. As alarms began blaring throughout the city, Astra's face twisted into something truly frightening, perfection giving way to raw fury. You don't understand what you're doing, she snarled. The Genesis ships aren't just carrying catalysts. They're carrying our apex specimens, beings engineered beyond anything you've seen. And now you've forced my hand. She touched a control on her wrist, and the sky above New York began to shimmer with unnatural light. The ships, Lyra gasped. They're accelerating their arrival. We don't have days anymore. No, Astra agreed, her beauty becoming terrible in its intensity. You have hours, and then perfection will no longer be optional. As the sky continued to change color, Sarah looked at her team, humans and awakened Lumerians alike, each beautiful in their own imperfect way. They had hours to save humanity's right to be flawed, to feel, to create, to love. The real war for Earth's soul was about to begin. The Genesis ships descended through Earth's atmosphere like falling stars, but there was nothing beautiful about their arrival. Their perfect geometric formations cast massive shadows over New York's skyline, each vessel pulsing with energy that made reality itself seem to waver. In the underground resistance base, Sarah watched their sensors overload with impossible readings. The transformation field is already affecting Earth's magnetic sphere, she reported. We have maybe 2 hours before it reaches critical saturation. Around her, the combined human-Lumerian resistance was in constant motion. Artists worked alongside scientists, their chaos-enhanced creativity leading to breakthroughs that pure logic could never achieve. Maya's paintings had become more than art. They were somehow interfacing with Lumerian quantum technology, creating patterns that disrupted the transformation field. The apex specimens are deploying, Lyra announced, her skin patterns shifting with urgent information. There, by the stars, what have we done to ourselves? The Resistance's monitors showed the truth. From the Genesis ships emerged beings that stretched the definition of humanoid, Lumerians engineered to the absolute peak of their species' potential. Their beauty was no longer seductive but terrifying, their perfection so complete that looking at them caused physical pain. They're wrong, Dr. Wong whispered, staring at their readings. Their DNA, It's not just engineered, it's crystallized. They're living quantum computers. The final step in our evolution, Astra's voice rang through their communications, having somehow breached their security. Perfect beings who exist beyond the chaos of organic life. This is what we offer humanity, transcendence. Sarah watched as the apex specimens began to land, their presence causing transformed humans to fall to their knees in automatic worship. Even resistant humans felt their pull, a gravitational force of pure order that threatened to overwhelm any trace of chaos. But there was something else happening, something that gave Sarah hope. The chaos broadcast they'd managed to upload was still spreading through the quantum network, and it was having an unexpected effect. Some of the apex specimens showed microscopic fluctuations in their crystalline perfection, tiny fractures where humanity's beautiful disorder was seeping in. They made a mistake, Sarah realized, excitement cutting through her fear. By engineering themselves to interface perfectly with quantum fields, they made themselves vulnerable to quantum chaos. The music of imperfection, Lyra agreed, her galaxy eyes swirling with new possibilities. But we need more power, more chaos, more humanity, Maya finished. She held up her latest work, a painting that seemed to capture chaos itself, colors and patterns that shouldn't exist flowing across the canvas. We need to remind everyone what it means to be beautifully flawed. The plan came together with desperate speed. As the apex specimens began establishing their conversion field, the resistance launched their counterattack. But this wasn't a battle of weapons or technology, it was a war for the soul of two species. Through the quantum network, they broadcast everything that made humanity human: children's laughter, imperfect love songs, rough sketches, and half-finished poems. They sent out waves of pure creativity, the mathematics of jazz, the quantum signatures of abstract art, the brainwave patterns of people experiencing raw emotion. The effect was immediate and stunning. The apex specimens' perfect formations began to falter as human chaos infected their crystalline structures. Transformed humans started waking up, their engineered harmony disrupted by remembered emotions. Even the Genesis ship's energy fields fluctuated as waves of beautiful imperfection washed through their systems. No, Astra's voice thundered across the network. You're destroying perfection itself. Was saving it, Sarah countered, watching as more and more people awakened to their humanity. True perfection isn't the absence of flaws, it's finding beauty in spite of them, because of them. The apex specimens began to change, their crystalline forms cracking not with destruction but with rebirth. From their perfect shells emerged new beings, Lumerians who carried both the beauty of their engineered heritage and the chaos of awakened consciousness. But victory came with a price. The quantum backlash from their chaos broadcast was threatening to tear reality apart. The Genesis ship's transformation field was collapsing, creating gravitational distortions that could destroy both species. The network, Lyra gasped, her skin patterns becoming erratic. Someone has to stabilize it. Someone who understands both order and chaos. Sarah knew what had to be done. Together, she said, reaching for Lyra's hand. Humanity's chaos, Lumerian harmony, that's how it was always supposed to be. As their hands met, Sarah felt herself connecting to something vast. The quantum network that linked both species, now filled with waves of chaos and order fighting for balance. Through Lyra's touch, she could sense every human on Earth, every Lumerian, all of them caught between perfection and freedom. With the last of their combined strength, they sent out one final broadcast, not of pure chaos or pure harmony, but of both intertwined in a dance as old as the universe itself. It was the sound of stars being born, of DNA spiraling into life, of consciousness emerging from void. It was the song of imperfect perfection, and it changed everything. The Genesis ship's transformation field collapsed, but instead of destroying Earth, it reformed into something new, a quantum matrix that allowed both species to exist in harmony without losing their essential natures. The apex specimens completed their metamorphosis, becoming bridges between order and chaos rather than its enemies. As the new dawn broke over New York, Sarah and Lyra watched their changed world from the Resistance base. Humans and Lumerians walked the streets together, each learning from the other, neither trying to force the other to change. But the story wasn't over. In fact, it was just beginning.